guys, and welcome to my channel. I am so excited you decided to join me here today because we are building a 90s inspired house. This is going to be a family house, and it is built in the world of San Sequoia. I was itching to do a 90's inspired build. I was so excited with how this turned out. I felt like I really took inspiration from a lot of the things that I had growing up, especially in the kitchen and the living room. It's just nostalgic. It's nostalgic, and I love nostalgia will be the death of me because let me tell you, I could reminisce. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. I wanna say this has 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. One is a half bath, so you have 2 bathrooms with a tub and then 1, bathroom with a shower tub combo, and then you just have a half bath without the shower or without the tub. So, I think there is plenty of room to grow in this house. And I just love the background. Like, can we just take a minute and look at the scenery? Because San Sequoia is beautiful. I do not build here that often, but I really, really enjoyed building this house in this world. So I hope you guys like it too. So the windows that I'm using are from Base Game. The door is from Growing Together. I used a lot of cats and dogs in Growing Together in this house. So I feel like those were the two packs that really most closely represented the 90's. So I was really excited about that. I really had fun diving back into the cats and dogs pack just because there was a lot of old furniture that I used to love. I want to say Cats and Dogs was, like, my first expansion pack that I ever had for The Sims 4, and I wanna say Vampires was the second because I have a slight obsession with vampires and Gothic, and it's like one or the other. It's usually, like, really light, colorful, or it's dark and moody and Gothic. There's, like, no in between with me. I'm sure a lot of you can relate, but anyway, we are working on the back of the house now, and I kinda just duplicated the back from the front, or the front to the back, and then I'm just carving out a backyard. I wanted to place a few things for the kids to do back here, and now I'm just going in, I'm adding some flower boxes to these windows. I thought they really tied in the build together, and they your house has to have flower window boxes, like, it's essential. And so I'm just going in, I'm adding some shrubbery, and I wanna say I got those out of debug. I did go into debug a little bit in this build and grab some stuff out, and I added in a little bit of a side porch there, I don't know if you can see it, so that your Sims can walk through and immediately go in, and I placed a basketball court on this little driveway area, and then also the hopscotch because I remember playing hopscotch so much growing up. I mean, that was one of the few things that, we had to do because as far as video games, which there was video games, and I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely playing The Sims back in the 90's. I wanna say The Sims came out in, like, what was it? Okay, so I looked it up, and the very first Sims came out in the year 2000, so I wasn't playing The Sims in the 90's, but I feel like I've been playing it most of my life, so I was how old was I in the year 2000? So I would have been 9 when the first Sims came out, so yeah, I mean, that's kinda crazy to think about, and I'm still playing now, so that's that's actually insane, but here we are just adding in some trees, and we're gonna get to the inside of the house, and I'm just adding some of these flowers in. I wanna say these were from the Romantic Gardens kit. But now we are gonna go ahead and start on the kitchen, and I was really happy with how this kitchen turned out. I really went and dived into that orangey wood because I felt like growing up, a lot of the furniture that we had was either really dark mahogany wood or it was this really orange wood. So I went with the orange wood for this particular build. And then, of course, you had to have the all white appliances because apparently that was a thing that would have been horrible. I'm not gonna lie. All white. Oh, I would hate to have cleaned that. But I'm just cluttering up these counters and I'm going to add in a coffee pot and then some coffee cups. And then I use these curtains. What pack are those curtains from? Because I absolutely have been adoring them lately. I've been using them in everything. I even used them in my Wednesday Gothic build. I just made the swatch black. I have no idea what pack those are from, but those are A plus because I have been using them in so much of my builds. They just really work for a majority of the windows. And then I did add some greenery around the top of these cabinets because I feel like that was a staple in the 90s. Everybody was putting greenery at the top of their cabinets. I don't know why. I mean, it does look pretty. It does. Now, I didn't have that in my house growing up, but I know a lot of people, like if I'd go to their house, they would have that whole top cabinet really decorated. So I added that. And then I am adding in this little phone station. And I really was nostalgic when I did that because that's exactly where we had our phones right by the back door. And we had a little phone stand that would hold all our junk and our mail and our papers. And it was just like the catch all in the kitchen. So I really enjoyed adding that into this build. And now I am just working here on the little dining room area. I added this like hanging bowl of fruit above the kitchen table. And I thought that was perfect because in my house growing up, that's what we had. So this kitchen is very much representative of the kitchen that I had growing up. And of course, you had to have the microwave on the cart. Now, unfortunately, in The Sims, we do not have rolling carts. I wanna say 1 pack of Ventura Awaits maybe just came out with, like, a microwave cart, but, yeah, I don't have that. So we just used a regular old cabinet, and I thought it really gave off the vibe, so we are starting in on the living room, and I was really happy with how this living room turned out. I love using these curtains from high school years, I believe. Those curtains are from high school years, don't quote me on that. And then I added in a few of these pillows that we got from our event, and I thought they were just so playful and fun and totally give like Nickelodeon vibes. If you know, you know. And I added in this coffee table. This coffee table is from Dream Home Decorator. And I also used their little modular pieces for the TV stand. So I thought that worked out really nicely. I'm adding in this rug and, of course, this mirror. Now, this mirror, I absolutely love this mirror because my mom had one. She must have got that thing in the 80s or the 70s because that thing has been in her house the entire time that I've known her. So I thought that was perfect for this build, and I'm just adding in a boom box. I added in this like wicker chair because, like I said, I had one similar growing up. I know wicker was all the rage in the 90s. All the moms were so into the wicker baskets and the wicker chairs. So I thought that fit in really nicely with what I was going for. And so I had to play around a little bit because we don't necessarily have a TV that represents those big old bulky TVs in the 90s. So I kind of improvised and I sized this one up and I thought it worked really nicely. I kind of shoved it back into that wall a little bit so that it was fitting on that shelf and still kinda gave off the vibe that I was going for, so I hope that turned out. And I'm just cluttering up. I added in a gaming console, I added in some controllers, and then just a few knickknacks, and then, of course, I had to have the pillows and the blankets basket, so we are now starting in on the hallway, and I really kept this hallway quite simple. I didn't add a whole lot. Just a table with some books. I got a mirror and then a plant, and then, of course, where you can slide your mail in and it holds your keys. I did place some shoes and then I added in a few backpacks just to kind of represent there are kids living in this house. So I thought that turned out really pretty. And I'm using these new coat racks or racks from, oh my gosh, the mudroom kit or grunge mudroom? I don't mudroom grunge? Anyway, it's from that kit, so I added that into the hallway, and here we are working on the other hallway that kinda connects the living room to the garage and then also the bathroom area. And I really I mean, usually bathrooms are like, "Eh," they're fun to build, but I added all these toys around the bathtub, and I thought that was so cute and kinda gave that 90's vibe because I feel like that was a highlight of our day was playing in the bathtub. I mean, just me? I don't maybe it was just me, I don't know. But I always enjoyed the water, so I always enjoyed playing in the bathtub and having my toys in there and my Barbies, so I added all those toys around and some fun rugs, and then I got this little, towel rack to match, so I thought that turned out really cute, and then here we are, and I thought it was essential to have a little garage area because I feel like that was a staple. Dad would always be out in the garage working and doing his thing. So I wanted to include a woodworking table and then just this fan, this stand-up fan and this light. I felt like definitely was perfect for this build. So we are now I kinda split up the garage and then I made little sections of it. So we are working there on the laundry room and I thought it turned out, just quaint and it was small, but I added in everything you needed to do your laundry except the laundry baskets. I I did forget laundry baskets, but I added in this litter box and unfortunately, I left out the pet bowls, so if you download this house from the gallery, you will have to add in your laundry hampers and your pet food bowl. And I don't think that I put in a thermostat or a fire detector, so that one's on me too. I can't believe I did that. I normally remember those things, so I don't know what got into me this build. My mind was just all over the place. I got ended up getting really sick while I was recording this video. So I felt like it kind of just messed me all up and I don't know what the heck is going around, but you guys, it was bad. It was bad, and I don't typically get sick that often. I don't think I've gotten sick for, like, 5 years, so it was really strange, and I had a 102 temperature, and ugh, it was awful. But anyway, we are getting in on the teenager room, and I absolutely this is probably my favorite room in the house. I just loved how it turned out. I put this wallpaper on, I wanna say this is from high school years. But it just reminded me of the slime. Do you guys remember the slime in the 90's? It was all the rage on Nickelodeon. They would have these game shows, and if you got it wrong or eliminated, you got slimed and it just fell from the ceiling and you were just covered. But I thought that was so nostalgic. So I wanted to include like a nod to that in this build. But we are just cluttering up. I made this little out of the closet kind of thing, like out in the open closet. And I'm just stacking in some clothes and some laundry baskets. And then over here, I'm just adding in a shelving unit and then like a mirror with some pillows sized down. Like I kind of imagine your sim would sit here and get ready in the morning. So they would sit on the floor in front of the mirror, and this is where they'd put on their makeup. And I mean, sitting on the floor and doing your makeup, I feel like who knew what a vanity was back in the 90s? I mean, those things were like for the rich. Like nobody nobody had vanities, but unfortunately I do have a vanity now. But back then, yeah, you sat on the floor or the kitchen sink and you did your makeup. So I wanted to take a nod to that too. But I really liked how this room came out. I just added in like a bunch of posters all over the wall and I just made it feel very 90s. So I hope that came across. But we are working on the little ensuite bathroom for this teen. She gets her own bathroom. She is a lucky, lucky girl. But I added in this shower and I thought it was perfect and it kind of gave that teenage vibe I was going for. And then just a sink and a toilet. And then I added in this mirror from Parenthood, I believe. I did use a lot of Parenthood also in this build. That's what it was. It was cat and dogs, and Parenthood were like giving very 90s vibes. So I quite enjoyed that. But we are getting in on the kids' room. Now, this is a shared room for a toddler and and a child, I should say. And so we are working on the toddler side now. And I just used this bed and I added in this little sheep rug I thought was so cute. And then I'm just going to clutter up this side table with some toys and some light. We just got that light from one of the events and I thought that was really cute. So I wanted to include it here. I did make all the kids' rooms very colorful and very vibrant, and I felt like in the 90s, a lot of kids' rooms were very vibrant and very colorful, so that's what I was trying to get across in this, but I really have fun with kids' rooms because you can use such vibrant colors, and honestly, I've been very much into that lately. I'm definitely in my vibrant, colorful phase of life. So I've really enjoyed it. But here I am just raising up this lamp. I'm putting it on this bookshelf. And then I'm going to scoot it over and I'm going to add in one of those measuring things to see how tall you get. And so I just added that. And then I'm adding in a toy box and a little whatchamacallit, little stuffed animal, I guess you would say. It's huge, so I did size it down, but here I am, I'm starting in on the kids' room, and I went for this bed. I've never used this bed, but I thought it was kind of fitting the vibe. They were into some character or some show that they watched, so I really wanted to make it kinda cartoony. And then I added in this little growing together half moon lamp. And I want to say that lamp will help with nightmares so your kids won't wake up and be petrified and wake you up in the middle of the night. So I want to say that does help with that. So, and I added in a kids crafting table in here. And I really don't include crafting tables in a lot of my builds, which I totally need to do more of because they are essential for gameplay. So, and then I found this and I thought it fit really nicely above the clothes there. So I added in that. And then here are those curtains again. And this is going to be the half bath. So this is just a sink and a toilet. And then I added in some shelves. So nothing too special here. But I'm just cluttering up this sink and then adding in a little back cabinet area behind the toilet and then adding in a rug. I wanna say I added a rug in here. And then on this shelf, I just literally cluttered it up with a bunch of towels, and I put some products and some perfumes at the top here, and then a plant. And I wanna say I grab a picture and put it above that. So, yeah, very simple, not a lot going on in here. I figured it was just nice to have a little bathroom for the kids. So, if they're up here playing, they don't have to go all the way downstairs or they don't have to go all the way through the teen room. So, kinda that was my thinking. So, we are starting in on the little family computer area. I did not get a fancy computer because, let's be honest, we had big old bulky computers back in the 90's. And I remember the big old bulky Apple ones when they came out, and everybody was so excited about them because Apple just started dropping stuff. I remember our school just got them and they were all different colors, and that was actually really cool. They need to come back with the colorful stuff because that was one of the main factors I feel like Apple got so big is because they offered such a variety of colorful computers, and back then, that was like, what? Unheard of. So, I am just going in and cluttering up this hallway with anything and everything that I can possibly think of. I added in a few rugs, a few baskets. I think I add a mirror, and then right here, I add in a place for your family portraits. But that will be all for that room. We are heading into mom and dad's room, and I went with burgundy just because my mama personally, she always had dark red walls, and that was her vibe in her room. And whenever I was looking up different inspiration on the 90's, it was very much this kind of vibe. So that's what I decided to go with. And her room, honestly, it still kinda looks like this, so it's kinda weird. It's kinda weird seeing this, and then, of course, one of the big staples was the stencils on the wall. Like, moms had to have those stencils around the border and the top edge of our walls, and I remember the sponge, you would take the sponge and the paint and, like, sponge your wall. Yeah, good times, but that was a staple back in the 90's. Mamas loved their stencils. But here I am just adding in a mirror, and I added in a poof. I sized that poof down and added it right there, kinda tucked it in so it didn't obstruct the way. But now we are starting in on the little basement area. I thought it was essential to include a basement in this 90's build. I felt like it was essential to have the old wood paneling basement. So that's what I went with. I'm just adding in these curtains. Don't ask me why. I don't know. There's not a window back there, but I just thought it looked cool. So I added in a games table, and then I'm just putting a light above it. I added in some posters, a dartboard because you have to have your dartboard. And then I added in a little bar area. I just sized this back bar down and I fit this little boom box kind of snug. I don't know if that boom box is functional. I honestly forgot to play test that, but I thought having a boombox down here was essential as well. So I'm just adding in these old couches, and I've really been enjoying like making these couches into an L and like smushing them together. So I'm in a phase. I don't know what else to tell you. You might see a lot of L couches in the next couple builds because obviously I'm into it. I didn't even think that I did it upstairs, but I've been having fun with that. Adding in a rug, and then I'm adding in these string lights, and then I wanna say I do add in a TV down here. It's not much, it's just a small little box TV, but I thought, having a little extra living room down here would be nice for your Sims, so I'm adding in these wine pictures because I feel like a lot of moms had a bunch of pictures of alcohol all over their walls growing up. I don't know why that was a trend, but I felt like it was. So I am starting on the backyard now, and I'm just cutting out some little spaces for my flowers. I ended up using a lot of the romantic garden flowers, which honestly, I don't use these white flowers very much, and if at all. But I know a lot of people include those in their build, and they always look so whimsical and beautiful when they add them. So I wanted to add a little bit of them into this backyard area and kind of make it feel a little bit overgrown, but still polished. So I'm adding in these little planter boxes all the way around the perimeter of the edge of this yard. And I thought it turned out really pretty and kind of whimsical and nostalgic. So I was really happy with that. If you do decide to download this house from the gallery, I did make a 90s family and I was so much fun thinking about like what they wore and their outfits. And I kind of did the same with my 60s family. So I had a lot of fun, like not only the furniture and just like what was the vibe in that particular decade, but like the clothes and the fashion. So I did include a family for this build, so feel free to download it. Right here, I'm just making a little family area for outside. I kind of imagine your Sims would come out here and barbecue and hang out and just have a good time. And then also I included this ball pit. Now, is it weird to have it outside? Maybe, but I feel like that was essential of the 90s. I remember those ball pits being everywhere, particularly Burger King. Like, if you went into Burger King to play, they had ball pit areas where you could just hang out and have fun and eat your burger and fries. And why did they get rid of that? I don't understand. Like, that was so much fun, but I'm sure somebody came along and ruined it, and that's why we don't have ball pits anymore. Okay, I'm gonna stop my rant on the ball pits, but I really, really had fun in those as a kid, so I wanted to include that in this build, and we are getting on to the end of the build. I'm just adding in a few more chairs on the front porch, but I hope you guys did enjoy this. I had so much fun recreating this, and let me know what else you wanna see on my channel. Bye.